Okay. Stuff should be going. Things should be working, I would assume. Let's see how things are playing out. Let me just make sure my stream is working. Okay, cool. Hello, if anybody is here already or not. Olivia, what's going on with you? We got the chapter in 10 minutes. So give me 10 minutes. We're just getting stuff set up. And then we'll get to seeing how things are. So my plan is, and this is just, I'm going to put this out there real fast. This stream it'll only be like a half hour. I gotta be somewhere, so I'm just gonna do for the initial reaction and any general questions, like any big questions, we'll go over, and then I'm planning to make the chapter stream pretty much following whenever I do the review, as long as it's within the next either today or tomorrow. I should plan for a long stream. That is the current plan, because I'm going to be busy over like the next couple days after Wednesday, so I won't have a lot to do. I won't have a lot of time for streaming. I'm still going to work on some videos, but I won't have as much time for streaming until sometime next week. So I'll try and get one out, hopefully as soon as we get the chapter. It's like as long as we get the fan translations like within the next day or so, I can get that out, and then we'll do a stream talking about it, and we'll make it a longer stream, because I haven't had many long streams lately, and I want to do at least like another 2 to 3 hour one within the next fair amount of time. I'm trying to figure out how to say your name. Guy Naruto. I keep looking at almost saying Gyarados, but what's going on with you? You don't need to be nervous, Livy. It's all good. The chapter will be out soon. We're going to have a Gajeel fight. I'm excited. I've been waiting for a Gajeel fight. I've been really excited just to see like what Mishima has planned for him. 1 second. I'm posting on the Twitter link to the stream real fast, and then we'll get back to the comments, and then the obvious thing, as I've said before, while I'm reading the chapter, I'm not going to read any of the comments, but afterwards I will try and get to anything within the amount of time that I have. And I guess that's what God Serena's other Slayer attributes are. I think they're just going to be something pretty basic. Like if he has like light, like literally just like light, shadow, and poison, stuff that we already know. Or, something like... the one I don't think he could have is metal, because I don't think he should have all those and be able to counter Gajeel like that. I think that's a dangerous position to put him in. But, because like we've seen the colors... And I think one is purple, so maybe poison, or like doing some neat kind of variety one where if like it's like a gravity dragon and he uses that for a couple gravity attacks. I don't know. I don't think any of them should be complicated, because I think with God Serena's 8 elements, he doesn't need a lot of crazy things from each branch. I think the fact that he's pretty much immune for the most part to 8 elements and is able to consume any of those elements and regain magic and stamina already are really scary hacks. Because like he doesn't need stuff like how Natsu's Fire has magic burning and how Wendy has all the different enchants and stuff. He doesn't need any of that. The 8 elements by themselves is a dangerous thing to combat in of itself. And then now he's gonna have alchemy, which the alchemy is like the very, very intriguing part of like how it's gonna go into this whole scenario. So unless he's lost his dragon slaying abilities, which I don't think so, considering he was introduced again with the 8 dragon title, and he's just using alchemy to compensate. Maybe he uses alchemy in a way to make up for like not having dragon slaying abilities or something. I don't know. I wonder if it's gonna be like, what if God Serena is like Captain Connor, where he's mass produced? He's just like some super soldier that somebody makes, and then you can direct them towards a goal. Like somebody made a God Serena to go fight Dragon Slayers. One was purchased for this alchemy guild to go and go and collect whatever they've got going on. In this case, the Dogra cores. I think that'd be a little bit too extra. I'm pretty much fine with just there being an explanation of God Serena being alive, but I'm hoping whatever the reason is, it's something that's gonna not just be like, oh yeah, I lived. I want it just to be something that expands out. Like if he, like if Viernes took the situation, like took an opportunity and then kept him alive, and he wanted to use him in a plan, but obviously like Acnologia died, so like he had to reset it. Because I am part of the group that does hope that Goldow's connected to Viernets, because I think it just makes sense. What do you think of Carla getting a vision of END and Ignia? I think that'd be pretty hype. Carla hasn't had any like vision plot lines in a long time, so I think that if we got something like that for her, it would really just it gives some obviously the reminder to her value in the team, but also like her value in the story of how she can set up, plot points with no general context just to kind of get you hyped up, because mysteries like that really help ongoing series. You got to really have stuff in that you're waiting to see, like what's the payout of whatever this question that was brought up is. What do you think of the Black Clover and My Hero chapters? Lucius looking really good right now. Asta, I get Asta being shocked, but like I feel like him being so shocked that he wouldn't react at all, it's one of those things that it makes sense, but at the same time it's like, man, Asta, like how did you let this happen? Because it's like there's no way Asta would have predicted this. But, like, he was just in shock the whole time. Like, he's got to... Like, next chapter, maybe we'll see he recovers. Like, this slash doesn't just one-shot him. Like, it does damage, and he's hurt. But it's not like he can't still fight from a slash wound. And then, he's able to kind of get back on his feet. But then the other characters show up and help. I think that would be good. And then it's like the chapter doesn't end with Asta actually losing. It's just like the dire situation, and now where Asta's at injured. I think that'd be a pretty cool moment, especially because other characters I think need to show up. With My Hero, Dabi coming back is both. I'm trying to remember what his real name is. What was it? Naoya? Was that his name, or something like that? Nauta? I can't remember, but him coming back is both good and bad, because he was my most interested character going into this arc, like the most interesting plot point to me. And then he got resolved like pretty quickly, but then he's back. But it's weird that he's back when it seemed like his story came to a logical conclusion. Yeah, thank you. So whatever, it's however Horikoshi plans his plot going from this point that could really shape the arc for me, in terms of like, did he set that up and then build him for something bigger? Is Endeavor going to come back and have another part? But then it's like, what is Todoroki going to do? Because I feel like their paths have to intersect and he has to stop him. If Endeavor helps, that's fine, but I feel like this is the last arc. As far as we know, Horikoshi's not doing a sequel or anything. So Todoroki as a main character, I think, needs to really have an effective big end moment. And if his big end moment fails and he doesn't fix the problem, it's going to feel really weird for him. Because if Endeavor or somebody shows up, defeats Dabi, or Dabi's defeated any other way, it's like, what did Todoroki accomplish? He stopped them for a few minutes? Cool. I hope that's not the case. God Serena will turn Gaja into a lily. I hope that's not going to happen. I'm waiting for Gaja. Is it Gajevi? I thought the it was Gale. It was like capital G, lowercase a, and then the uppercase L, lowercase e. Wasn't that? Did they change it? Am I thinking of somebody else? I remember most of the ship names. Most of the logical ship names. I don't know about the weird fan ships. I was brainstorming stealing God's Lockmar for a whole crew, and now he's back. If Mishima is going to do something like that, I would only hope that each character, it's like the characters individually don't really matter, but it's them as a group, and they're essentially the Power Rangers, but the Dragon Slayers. I think that'd be really cool. It's something just really fun, or maybe like the Psycho Rangers, make them as kind of like this evil version, but like the obvious kind of connection. Chainsaw Man. I'm gonna read the new chapter probably later today, because I want to focus on the Fairy Tail chapter, and then I gotta go. Like, I got a work meeting I gotta go to, and then I'm going to, I'll come back and have the rest of the day to do stuff. Hopefully, the chapter will be we'll get the fan translations today, because then I could get the chapter review out, and then we could stream tomorrow or something, and have just like a really nice, comfy stream. Because we should have we have Eden Zero and Four Knights as well, and then Chainsaw Man. Also, last thing real quick before I go to the chapter should be out in just a couple seconds. I'd really appreciate anybody's here if you could thumbs up the stream, thumbs up the channel, subscribe if you haven't, and tell me exactly what your thoughts are going to be about this chapter afterwards. If you comment after the stream, and if I miss something in the comments, just comment it in the actual Extreme post stream, and I'll be able to see it and I'll answer it. So let's go to the chapter. Let's see exactly what's going on with God Serene and Gajeel. Whatever Gajeel has as an upgrade is what I'm super hyped about. I'm hoping this one, it's like, again, it's not a mega Gajeel like advancement, like this is his big fight on 100 Years Quest, because I'm really hoping he's going to be in the Viernese arc, because I think it makes more sense for him to be connected to Viernese in like a big Gajeel spotlight, because gold as a metal versus like God Serena. Unless Mishima wants to do something really crazy here, we'll see. But, we'll get to the chapter and see how stuff's going. Oh, this is a wholesome cover. So it's like Gajeel and Levi, not on like a light picnic, and there's a bunch of animals, and she's like curled up with Gajeel's hair like a scarf, and I'm just like, what the fuck are you doing? He looks really confused, but at the same time, he knows what she's doing. I imagine she probably likes his long hair. He seems to keep it clean. So, like, the big question with God Serena is, like, is this the God Serena, or is this some form of copy or something? I'm assuming it's the normal God Serena. But he's, obviously, like, I gotta get the chapters, and we'll get a rough translations later and figure out what exactly he's gonna explain. So we do get, okay, here's something we do get. So he's talking to Gajeel. This is, like, 10 pages in. So he's talking to Gajeel. He pulls out a Dogor core, and obviously, like, we know we need to get that. He's going to want to keep it. And you see a, classic silhouette picture. I'm assuming he's talking about the people in Gold Owl. There's 3 people. There, 2 of them have to be the Signario sisters, because we know there's at least 2 of them. We don't know if there's 3 sisters. And there's somebody behind the 2 characters, I would guess. Well, one has longer hair, and one clearly has boobs, so I would assume those are at least the sisters. And then there's a character behind them. Who knows what the character is? It's much more silhouetted. Could be male, could be female. Could be a 3rd sister, I don't know. I'm kind of hoping that it, like, my big hope is that it is Viernese in disguise. I think it'd be really cool if the reason nobody's been able to find Viernese is because he's just been hiding this whole time. He's been the best hider, because with the other dragon gods, Alderaan was sleeping. The Alderaan thing is like the confusing one, but it's like you have to take into consideration the size of the planet and the fact that Acnologia can only find things through smell. So if it's like, say, Alderaan just smelled like trees or smelled like cities, like just, humans and whatever, food and whatnot, he might not be able to find him. He would have to just come across him. With Mersephobia, like, you could just say he spent most of the time underwater. Selene was in another dimension. Ignea's, he's just said he was hiding, so who knows where he's been. With Viernese, like, being extra secretive, with Mersephobia never even having met him before, I think it'd be really cool if it was like, he got his hiding stuff set up, he covered his scent kind of like Irene, and he just never came out. And it's like imagine he as a dragon was strong, but he became stronger not through living like a human, but experiencing things like through magic advancement and through advancement in techniques and stuff through a human. Like, say that he, like, alchemy 400 years ago was a new concept that humans could do somewhat, but couldn't really grasp it too much. But him as a dragon with like hundreds of years of knowledge and experience and like all this worldly knowledge was able to one man pretty much advance it to where it's at now. And it's like his level as like a dragon advanced not just from his own kind of like, having a higher grasp on magic, just becoming an older dragon, but also just advancing his abilities themselves. Who knows? Like, he's a big question mark out of him, because there's no way that, like, Mishima would have something like, oh yeah, Mersephobia knows somewhat of all the other dragon gods. He's met them at least somewhat once or twice, except for Viernese. Viernese has never been met. Nobody knows anything about him, other than that he's their gold dragon god. That's the only thing we know about him so far. But the Signario sisters, I think that once we get to them, they're going to be, like, really questionable characters, because it's how they're going to be at their level of strength and what the explanations are going to be. They're either going to be super broken alchemists that, like, they have some high connections, they have some form of really valuable items or something, like some super powerful artifacts, or there's just going to be something that really boosts their characters to how they're at their whatever position that they're at, because they're obviously, like, I would assume the top alchemists, but at the same time it's like if they're the top of their field, like in the world, those are those outlier characters. You could say, oh yeah, there's instead of there being 12 Spriggan level wizards just on this one continent, it's like, oh, we have 2 Spriggan level alchemists over on this continent or something like that, because I think that makes sense. If there are equivalents to that out in the world, these just kind of like anomaly characters, and these characters that are just really big. It's not like they're Xerath level or anything, so it's not like really clashing with the story. It's more just like ratios, obviously, of like big characters in the world, but obviously they're not too big that it becomes a too much of a questionable problem. But Gajil, I think what Gajil's saying, it's like the fight, being able to defeat the Wizard Saints, like, I don't think he takes them too seriously. But to be fair, Warrid is a support wizard. He is not a fighter. We've never seen anything from Warrid other than just like launching trees and being more of an aid. Hyperion and Wolfheim, we never really got to see anything about him too much. We just saw a level of what I would assume is Beast Soul takeover magic from Wolfheim and vampire magic from Hyperion. Like, there was like just a level of power and hacks there that seemed to be good. We just didn't get to really get too much from them. So it makes sense of why Gajil would underestimate them. Well, he would not take them as seriously, because Gajil clearly has surpassed them when you really compare like levels where characters are at now. But to where like they didn't show anything like too crazy that like a character like Gajil, even at the same levels, like if you put them at the same levels each of them, I feel like they would not be that much of a problem, because not only were they they were at a level that weren't relevant at the time, they were, I guess, sort of relevant, not like boss relevant, but they didn't have like a crazy enough move set that could really work with it. So he ends up like using an attack. It looks like Gajil's just using a general kind of Iron Dragon sword, and God Serena goes for like an attack that has a bunch of sparkles. I wonder if it's light or something like that, if he's using some form of ability. Gajil turns into a shadow. I like how his hair is kind of writing, so he looks like a shark. Okay, so he does use light. Light propels. It affects the shadow. Natural counter. I think that makes sense. So like I said, I figured he would just have kind of like basic stuff, because I don't think he needs any complicated abilities with his Dragon Lance. Okay, it looks like we see all of them. Hold on. So there's, I'm going to guess, ice, wind, water, fire, lightning, earth, light, dark. Which are the ones that we knew of for sure? No, there has to be an extra one, because like there's it's like, unless he counts rocks and earth, maybe one is ice. Did I say ice? I don't know. I think ice, light, and shadow are the ones that like at least we're seeing that I think make sense that he can, like, he'll have without it being too crazy, because like there's 2 different minerals looking ones, but I'm guessing one is ice. So having 8 elements, just really good in general. If he's able to attack with all of them at the same time, I think that'll be really dangerous. But the general attacks, being able to hurt Gajil, this is good for his level. What's his alchemy, though, is what I want to know. So right now he's just really hurting Gajil. Gajil, though, like, Gajil needs something ahead of Iron Shadow Dragon mode. Because ahead of Iron, like, he needs a bigger boost than that. Because if you look at like the comparatives of what Natsu can do in his different forms, like the boost from Lightning Flame Dragon mode is not that crazy in comparative, like when he goes into Fire Dragon King mode, and then obviously Dragon Force. So Gajil needs to get some form of upgrade. I think if Gajil gets something equivalent to Fire Dragon King mode in this fight, and then gets Dragon Force in the next arc with Viernes, or whatever we get to Viernes, I think that would be the best line for that. So Gajil losing this first swap, I think, makes sense. Whatever the alchemy, like, I want to know exactly, like, how does his alchemy come into play with his abilities? I thought Gajil just seems to be getting really kind of like swapped from a variety moveset, because it doesn't look like because God Serena isn't just, he's not mauling him. They're not just having like a normal Dragon Slayer clash. Like, think think of times where it's just like they're just being dragon slayers. You know, one smashing the other through one direction, they come back, smash the other one. They're just all over melee clashing. When you actually look at this fight, and I think this is smart on God Serena. So I like it's not like this is a negative towards his character. This is called having intelligence of variety. So Gajeel goes for an attack. He waits for it, goes and counters, using an ability that counters. Gajeel goes in for another attack, turns into a shadow. That's when he uses the light, counters it, goes for an attack. He's not just saying like it's not like say like Wendy versus Nibiru. They're not swapping back and forth. God Serena is playing this intelligently. He is waiting for Gajeel to make a move. He's thinking, okay, he's doing this. What out of my whole variety, out of my whole moveset, what do I use? Oh, he's using a shadow attack. He's like counters it. Bam, he's now open, use an attack. Goes for. I wonder what the whole thing with the light attack was. Or whatever, like, the whole sparkle thing was. Because he hits him, it looks like Gajeel gets, like, dizzy or something. So I don't know if there's, like, an effect to it. Like, maybe if it's a light attack, like, you know, it puts photons in your eye, like, directly into your eyeballs that, like, you know, just gives you, like, a bright shock and, you know, makes you dizzy or some shit. But yeah, he's playing counter fighting right now, which, again, is smart. He's not fighting like a straightforward Dragon Slayer, which I think is fine. He's a second gen, but like the big thing about him is having 8 elements. All right, we see Panther Lily. We get Selene for a moment. Oh, get Levy. Levy in the chapter is good. Looks like she's just wondering what Gajeel is doing. Oh, Gajeel's getting pressed. Like he's all bloodied up and smashed against the wall. So Gajeel definitely losing this first bit makes sense. I think the way that it was, like, where God Serena was not fighting fairly, he's fighting intelligently, not fairly, I think is fine. But I mean, like, really, there's no fairness in a battle like this, where they're gonna just be clashing, and it's like, okay, it's their guilds and their positions, their missions, they need to kind of just do their own thing tonight, right? We'll see. If the fan translation comes out tonight, I will do the review, and then we'll do a stream tomorrow. I think God Serena will try to kill Levy next chapter. How would she even get to Levy? Levy's on a boat going back to another continent. I don't know how he would even get to her. Unless he's got some weird alchemy hacks that, like, connects him to Levy and then does something. But that's a bad... Like, if he does that, he's just asking for, like, Gajeel to limit break. Because, like, that's just going to fucking immediately infuriate him. I think what'll happen is Gajeel is going to have more of a personal insight. I don't think that Levy is going to be involved. Not physically involved or directly involved. I think it's going to have something like Gajeel's going to get up and want to keep fighting. And maybe, like, he'll start to kind of, like, have that general, like, oh, his magic is increasing even though he's, he's beaten up. It'll be one of those things where it's just his emotions are boosting him, but he isn't gaining any real ground. Like, imagine that he's taking more and more damage, but he gets a couple hits on God Serena because he's able to kind of, really do some, get some gap closing. His power's increasing. Also, just one thing I want to add, I'm hoping for 1.5 more chapters. I'm hoping this isn't just next chapter he wins. I'm really hoping the next chapter, it's like the turnaround point, the following chapter, Gajeel wins within, like, the first half of the chapter, or we get the full chapter and we get, like, a 3-chapter Gajeel fight. But something like that, I think, would be really cool. But otherwise, chapter and a half would be pretty satisfactory for me. But my guess is it's going to be like Gajeel is just kind of trying, and it's going to be one of those things where it's Gajeel's, like, thinking more to his strength. I got to win this as, like, a fairy tale wizard. But I think it's going to get to a point where he's going to start to kind of get to that near the end of really realistically what he can do, and it's not going to be the guild he thinks about. He's going to have a part where instead of, like, thinking about the guild's pride and, being a fairy tale wizard, I think it's going to be one of those points where it's going to go deeper for him, and he's going to think about Levy and their unborn children, and it's not going to be a fairy tale wizard boost. This is going to be like a core human, like, these are his paternal instincts kicking in to just the general, like, genetic drive to, like, get back to his family and, like, see his children born and stuff. I think would be really cool. I think it'd be really sick if it's like God Serena has the next chapter where, like, maybe we get a little bit of backstory and what's going on. We start to see a little bit of a turnaround, but he's still holding ground, and it just starts to kind of really build into, like, a big Gajeel a big Godrill like emotional step point. Like maybe he'll, because like I think something like that would actually get him to Dragon Force, and maybe he can learn to master it next Dark or something. But this is like where he gets it without being a outside boost. This is like his just straight emotions ramping his power up and then getting him into a position to steamroll over God Serena. Because even if God Serena has Dragon Force, it's second gen Dragon Force. So it's going to give him like a couple times strength, but natural Dragon Force gives you like hundreds of times more power and strength and stuff. So it's like it's not even going to be remotely close. Oh, Godrill, don't one-shot him in the next chapter. I don't want that either. I think Godrill will start to turn around, but, well, I talked about it, but I think Godrill is going to... I think Godrill will eventually start to kind of gain the upper hand. I would like it to be kind of like... Do you remember when in that like the anime difference for Elfman and Monster Soul in the anime, where it's like a much longer beating? I'd like it to be like that, to where like once Godrill starts to win, I want it just to be like it just slowly gets escalated higher. Like imagine, you know, it's like he gets the first hit on God Serena, then they clash again, he gets 2 or 3 hits, then he gets like a roar in, and then it's like before God Serena can get back to his feet, Godrill's on top of him again and just keeps going, and it's just like this continuous onslaught that Godrill just keeps fighting. It's like, again, I wanted to have some connection to, not to the guild, but to his you know, his lover and his unborn children, so it's more primal. I want it to be like more like a primal boost, something that's just, you see, you don't need to have like obviously the context of the guild and like the way that the characters in the guild are all bonded together and how they all look out for each other and how close they are. I want it to be Godrill as a human, like right down to his genetics, like just that he thinks about that, and then it's just a primal energy wakes up inside him and he just starts going into this almost feral state. I think that would be really sick. Not like a rage mode, but it's just like this, like think about like any animal when they go into that like fight or flight, and it's just now their body is in a, it's not like, oh, I'm in a match for, you know, he's not in a match to get this door core, he's in a match for survival. His body is in a match to either move forward or just lay down and die kind of thing. I think that would be great. I think Brandish was twisted by trying to kill Lucy. Not at the time because of the context of what she thought. I think stuff like trying to avenge a family member's murder is always one of those pretty justifiable characters going crazy kind of things, because it would, you know, it's one of those things that drives like deep into you as a person and not just like you as like a random citizen. It's not like, oh yeah, this guy commits crime. It's like this is directly striking into my life and to what affects me on a daily basis. Imagine if God Serena gets 8 Dragon Force at once. I don't think it'd be like that. I think it would just be like Dragon Force with like a level to each of them. But I don't think it'd be that crazy because just like Lacrima based Dragon Force is not that good. Laxus, Cobra, Sting, and Rogue in the Grand Magic games, those Dragon Forces, they don't compare to when characters either get them from eating some form of energy that just drives their limits forward enough to Dragon Force, or when either they can do it naturally or their emotions just spike to the point where their body is just forced into it. I don't know what you're talking about with Lucy. Oh yeah. It's talking about like, just like how it's like Brandish tried to kill her. It's like, do you think that it was fair? But it's like, yeah. Apparently God Serena showing why he's the number 1 ranked wizard. I think the way that he was fighting here was smart. But at the same time, like, it makes sense why that wouldn't work on Loki at all. I don't see how Godrill's going to win against God Serena. Well, the thing is, like, if God Serena, I got to wrap it up soon. God Serena, at least so far, hasn't shown any crazy hacks that are undefeatable. He hasn't shown anything that just makes him too scary. The thing about him that makes him scary is he's a Dragon Slayer with 8 attributes. So he is pretty much immune to 8 of the most common elements. So you have a very likely chance to just be shut down fighting him from that. On top of that, he's a Dragon Slayer. He's a battle wizard, close quarters combat, heavy hitting tank. On top of that, he can counter and eat any of those attributes, meaning he can regain magic and stamina. So like imagine him in Black Clover, and I'll use Black Clover because Black Clover having regular elements is very common. he can almost continuously just keep fighting. As long as people come out that feed him spells to eat, he would be able to effectively fight forever. And he, again, can eat things like earth, water, and wind, so he could literally just eat rocks on the ground and regain magic and stamina. And that's like the thing about God Serena that's scary. He effectively has a way to have infinite stamina and infinite magic. Not like infinite, but like infinitely replenishing. Quantum Melody scales above gray. That's not true. Maybe with alchemy, God Serena developed his magic differently, like the way Laxus or lightning. At least so far, he hasn't done anything. Maybe like when we get context of the chapter, will. Can Dragon Bolt uses memory magic on Soul Magic Lucius? Maybe, because he was able to use it against Brandish. I don't think if Lucius knew, like Lucius was aware, he would have to somehow get Lucius without Lucius being aware. But I think that's the only thing about that. Dragon Force boosts are weird. In the Natsu vs. Zero fight, it was like a 2 to 3 times amp. Well, that was a small boost. Look at the levels of Dragon Force comparatively. Like when you look at the levels of Natsu. When you look at the first one, he got a couple scales. When he got it with Zero, they were a little bit more also on his arms and stuff, but they were still flesh-colored scales, whereas later his scales are red. We see that, like, the higher levels of Dragon Force, you actually get features of a dragon when he gets the feathers. Sting and Rogue get colored markings as well. Godjil skin becomes black. Whereas other people just mostly have flesh-colored scales. It just depends on, like, what exactly is the source power. Because the highest 0.1 so far by far has been natural Dragon Force. Like, natural Dragon Force has been the highest one. And 5th gen, but 5th gen is kind of like, it's like, it's got its own drawback. God Serena can eat magic around face like Wendy and Tartarus Arc. Yeah, any of the elements, she would be able to eat them. Or he would be able to eat them. You have new what Lucius soul magic can actually do. It's like a soul manipulation. Think about kind of like how Mahito's magic works. Anyway, I'm gonna call it here. Unfortunately, even though I appreciate we got 30-something people here, I appreciate it. We'll go towards once. Hopefully we'll get the fan translation the next day or so. I'll have a longer stream for that if it happens, because the reason that some of my streams have been short is just like the unfortunate days some of the chapters have lined up with my schedule. But I'll plan some stuff. I'll get some stuff set up, because right now I'm getting a lot of videos planned out. I'm trying to get back on that, and then I'm also planning to start doing some game streaming for the members. I wanna like play through. So like I got a capture card. I got my third monitor again. I have Pokemon Arceus. I'm gonna play through that. I'll put like the first episode up. It'll be like 2 hours or something for everybody, and then everything after that I'm gonna plan for just members, just something to do for like when I build up my membership stuff, because I know I've been neglecting that, and I've been really wanting to get back to that, and I just recently got some of the stuff I needed. I just haven't had the time put aside for it. And with some of the other stuff, I'm still planning, like I said, some of the videos. But today I have off. It's just I was like super excited. I was going to be able to have a long stream for the chapter when it came out, but then I had a meet, like it just dropped like a couple days ago. I had a meeting at work I had to go to it, and it was only like an hour after the chapter came out. But like I said, hopefully we'll get the chapter translations either today or tomorrow, and then we'll have a stream kind of planned for it. Otherwise, I'll have to plan it for maybe a couple days from now. But we'll definitely do like a stream around the chapter, because this chapter was very interesting. I like God Serena's fighting style so far, because I think it makes a lot of sense. And it also makes a lot of sense that Godjil, like, how strong would Lucius be if he joined the Spriggan 12? I think right now he'd be like he's got good hacks for the Spriggan 12, but power-wise he wouldn't be very high. So he'd be kind of weird. I think he'd be kind of like in the lower, like somewhere like I split up into 4 tiers, because each one, 3 levels each, each 3 of 12, 4 levels, easy. 12 divided by 4. I wish I had a picture ready, but probably not the lowest out of the 3, but like that second to the bottom, because I feel like some of the people are just too hacks to fight him once you get higher up, and then obviously the top 3, like, he's doing nothing. But regardless of that, like I said, I really appreciate if you thumbs up the stream. For anybody else that's here, subscribe. I will have the chapter review out as early as I can, because I really want to talk about this chapter. I really want to get the context as to like the conversations, the Signario sisters, what exactly is God Serena's deal? How is he alive? Like, there's a lot of stuff about God Serena that I want to just kind of talk about in general, and then figure out what's going to happen with Gajo, because I think logically Gajo can still win with the 8 elements just being 8 elements. If Gajo just say, like, I'll just say Dragon Force. Gajo just goes into Dragon Force, he would just be physically strong enough and durable enough to just pretty much walk through any of these attacks and just directly attack him. But anything like that, or some form of general enhancement for Gajo to get him in a scenario to win this, I'm hyped in general to see. Because God Serena, I don't have mega stocks in. I just want information from him and him to, like, have a good fight. Because he's a character that just got in a situation that he had a horrible turnout again that he put himself in, but still it was like, damn, we didn't get to see too much of him. He screwed himself. But now we might be able to get a little bit of redemption for him. And I so far I've liked it. Chapter and a half is what I'm hoping for. Next chapter turnaround. The chapter after that, Gajo wins. So we'll see. Anyway, other than that, like I said, comment below, thumbs up the stream, subscribe if you haven't, and we will get back to this hopefully soon, and we'll get to more of the chapters and some of the stuff. I've got a bunch of videos that I have planned on both Fairy Tail as a whole and on the 100 Years Quest, so look forward to that in the next couple upcoming days, pretty much. I got a couple in the works. I've got a Mary Jane video that I know some people are going to be salty at me over, but I'm going to be fair in description so people don't think I'm just slandering or something. Other than that,